Hi, BookTube. Welcome to Jackie's Literary Corner. I am Jackie, and I'm going to do a tag video. I had been meaning to do this tag for a little bit, and I recently was reminded of the tag when I saw Sean the Book Maniac, his version of the tag, and then I was, directed to the original creator of the tag, so I started following, I subscribed to her channel as well. So I figured now would be a perfect time, especially because now I have reread quite a few books recently. So, I can say I've reread more than just Harry Potter, Prisoner of Azkaban. Um, so here is the reread book tag, and oh my god, I forgot to bring it up, you guys, so I could see the questions. Let me move this. I totally forgot. Okay. Oh, nope. You can't see my face. Okay, that's better. Now you can actually see me. Okay. Okay, so question number 1 is, let's assume you're doing this tag because of course you reread. So where do you sit on the rereading scale? Almost never, or to all the time? And I'm somewhere in the middle, although I lean more towards almost never, because I kind of just started getting more into rereading because there's a lot of books that I either read that were assigned to reading in school, like classics, that I want to see if I would like them now or appreciate them now. And then there's some old fantasy books that I read that I remember really loving when I read them, and I want to see again how I still feel about them. So I'm definitely doing a lot more, but before that I would reread the Harry Potter book number 3, Prisoner of Azkaban. I know a lot of people still have issues with J.K. Rowling because some of the stupid stuff she has said, but you know what? I love Harry Potter. I still have nostalgia feels for it, so I am going to mention it here. And plus, I'm just mentioning it, so it's not like I don't think I'm promoting J.K. Rowling by just mentioning the books. But anyway, yeah, I mean, that's one of the things that I reread was the third Harry Potter book, Prisoner of Azkaban, because it was my favorite when I was younger. Mostly because of two of the main characters that are introduced in book 3. But now I'm definitely rereading a lot more. So yeah, it's kind of like it's not almost never, but it's not all the time either. It's like every so often. Okay, so question number 2 is, has that changed your reading life? And I think it has, to an extent, because now I'm being refreshed on books that I read a long time ago, or books that I studied in school, and now rereading them, I get a new perspective on the books, or my opinion will change on them, like whether I like them or don't like them. And I do think it's kind of important. I mean, you don't have to obviously get into the habit of rereading. There's some people who just don't like it, or just don't do it. But I think it is, in my personal opinion, I think it's a good idea to reread, because especially if it's like a book that was your favorite, then you might want to see if it's still your favorite, or if it's still, like, I think people's opinions always change as they get older. And mine has definitely changed. I'm looking at these books I reread in a new way. And I think that's how my life has changed. Like, it allows me a new perspective on the books. Okay, question number 3. When do you reread? Maybe immediately after finishing the book, or not till years later, or when the mood strikes. And I say it's kind of a little bit of years later and when the mood strikes, because a lot now, as of right now, a lot of the books I reread recently, especially this year, I think I reread at least one or two books last year, but it's been years, and even though I will think about it, like I have thought about rereading, some of Brandon Sanderson's books, like the Mistborn series, but sometimes I like to kind of, I don't know why. I just like to give. I don't want to reread right away because I feel like I got to read some new books first before I reread a book I've already read. But also, it kind of also do with the mood when the mood strikes me because all of a sudden I just was in the mood to reread Jane Eyre for the third time a couple months ago. So it's years later, and then also when the mood all of a sudden hits me that I feel that desire. Although to be fair, Jane Eyre was the first time it was one of these things where, oh, and I guess the Night Circus too. It was the first time that the mood kind of struck me that I decided. I mean, in fact, with a lot of reading, I have been feeling like books that I've neglected. If I feel the mood to read a book that I haven't read yet, but I've had on my shelf for a while, I'm like, I should give into that mood because I don't know how much longer it'll be sitting there, and it might get to the point where I'll move on from the book and then just decide to donate it and never get around to reading it because all of a sudden I lose interest. Like that's kind of what's going on with Empire Falls, I think, because I bought it because the mini series that came out years ago looked really interesting, and so for years I was meaning to buy the book. So finally, and this was like a couple years ago when I bought it. Finally, I bought it, and now all of a sudden I'm like, do I really want to read this? Am I interested? And like I said, I feel the pressure. I feel the pressure to, select books that I no longer am interested in. I keep doing that. Books that I'm no longer interested in because they've been sitting there for so long and I didn't jump on them right away. Because I still like to kind of savor now when I buy the books and have them on my shelf at the same time. Sometimes books that I was excited, I was kind of intrigued in the moment. All of a sudden, that feeling that I had of intrigue might go away after a while. It's the same thing what I feel like happens with the John Adams book by David McCullough. But anyway, we're talking about rereading here. So yeah, when the mood, it's a mixture of when the mood strikes me, and it's usually years later. Okay, so question number 4, nostalgia, and sometimes I was reading my answers. Okay, the actual question is, why do you reread books? I kind of already answered that in question number 2, and how it's changed my life, my reading life. It's kind of the same answer that, I reread them because I'm bound to have a different viewpoint on those books. And, and there's some books that when I was younger, I thought they were boring at the time. Like, I actually almost bought Dracula today. Like, I had a mass market paperback copy, and then I ended up getting rid of it because at the time, I read it and I was like, oh, this is so boring. But then the way people talk about it on BookTube, it's like, maybe I'll feel differently now. So I almost bought it, but I was trying to restrict myself. And I'm slowly, I picked some Stephen King, I had already was holding 2 Stephen King books. So that was one of the ones that I put back on the shelf. Along with along with Dracula. So I was trying to limit to at least 4 books at the most. Because even though it's in a used bookstore, so it's just, cheaper, I still don't want to go, I'm not one of those people who wants to go overboard. I mean, I still am not made of money, and I only have a little bit of money in my wallet, so, but I almost bought it, because I do want to reread it at some point, because it was, a regular size paperback. It wasn't mass market, and I think for some of the classics, it would almost be better to buy, like, the regular size books than the mass market paperback, because, like, especially with the writing style and everything. So I feel like, I feel like, if you might not, or it might go the opposite way, where you might have liked it then, but you don't like it now as an adult. And you get like a whole new perspective on the story when you reread, and you appreciate it more. And sometimes there are things that you didn't notice the first time you reread it, which I guess is the same thing as perspective, as a different perspective. There are like my opinion over Rochester and Jane Eyre has changed throughout the 3 times I've read the book, and then of course seeing the movie and stuff. So I feel like it allows you a chance to re-experience the book and also have new feelings on the book. That's why I reread, because I know that as I get older, my taste will change, my opinions and my understandings of things that happen will change as well, and I'll have a whole new perspective as I've gotten older. So that's why I reread, because I want to, I want to re-experience it, and then I know that I'm going to change. My opinions are going to change. Okay, so question number 5. How do you reread? Faster, slower, or just the best bits? Now, with Prisoner of Azkaban, I read my favorite 2 chapters a lot. In fact, the book is coming out of its binding as we speak. I have the original American hardback editions. But, like, now, I think I might read a little bit faster, but I think I kind of read the same pace, because if I read fast or slow, it depends on the book and the genre and stuff like that. So I don't think when I reread, my pace changes that much on how I reread it. It just depends on the book itself. And also, especially because, there's probably a lot of years in between my first reading of the book and my second reading of a book. With the exception of Jane Eyre, for instance, there were not between reading it this year and then reading it I read only a couple years ago the first time. So that one, there wasn't a lot. There was like 2 years in between readings, or maybe even just a year when I reread that one for the third time. So I don't know if maybe I did read that one a little bit faster. I don't know, but I don't skip to the best bits. I mean, even with Prisoner of Azkaban, I would still read the whole book and only reread my favorite 2 chapters. And I remember the name of the chapter: Cat, Rat, and Dog. And then I don't remember what the name of the chapter that comes after it is. Maybe it's like the Whomping Willow or something. No, actually, that's either in the second book or earlier in the third book. The chapter that's called the Whomping Willow. But sometimes I'm in the mood just to read that part. But no, other than that, I don't really skip around, because I want to. I might get a little impatient and want to get to that part, but I feel like I personally don't think it'll be right. I don't think it's right to just skip around to the next. I mean, if you do that, that's great. But for me personally, I don't like skipping around. I'll feel guilty if I just skip to my favorite parts. So yeah, I think I mostly read at the same pace every time. But I also haven't done a lot of rereading, so. Okay, so question number 6 is, who or what do you reread more specifically? Which authors or genres or individual books? I've reread some of my favorite fantasies. And I reread some classics, older books. Because, like I said earlier in this tag, these are classics that I read in school, and that's been years. I don't know how many. It's 2020. It's a little bit over 10 years, I think, since I left high school. Yeah, let's see, when did I graduate? I think 2014. So if you're counting college, it's been not. I don't think it's been 10 years. Maybe a little less than 10. I'm not good with the math to get number at the top. I'm not good with calculating at the top of my head that quickly, so I don't know. But it's been a while since I've read since I read some of the classics that I studied in school. So, like I said, 2020, and it was 2014 when I graduated college. So I guess, so either way, it's been a while since I read some of the classics I read in college and in school. And I've been wanting to, like I said, I have been thinking about Dracula and wanting to reread. Although that was not one we studied in school. That was one I chose to read on my own. And I think it was just not good timing. I think I need to read it when I'm a little bit older and I can appreciate it more. I mean, I could be wrong, but I always thought I thought this was boring to me, but reading it now, I'm loving it. I'm very intrigued by it and having a good time reading it. Which I need to finish this first part because, this month we're supposed to for the Les Mis read along. I think September is this first part. We're supposed to finish it by the end of September, and then I guess we'll read Cosette in October, and so on and so forth. I think if I'm interpreting how we're reading it correctly, then I think that's how it. But anyway, okay, what do I reread specifically? Like I said, so far I mostly reread fantasy, and then I reread classics. Although lately there has been some books like The Secret History that I wanted to reread, because I'm one of the people who loves The Secret History, which a lot of people, I remember people were saying that you're either a Secret History fan or I think it was Secret History versus the Goldfinch. And most people were either one or the other. And I always thought, I'll probably like both. I'm one of those weirdos who will probably like both of them. But I ended up I like Secret History, and the Goldfinch was just kind of a little too slow and kind of boring and depressing. And I looked up and I cheated and looked at reviews and tried to find out how things are going to turn out. And it's like, are things going to be depressing throughout? And people in reviews kind of said, yeah, it would be throughout, so I ended up DNFing that book. But yeah, I'm thinking about rereading The Secret History again, so that might change the specific books I reread. But yeah, mostly classics because I want to see how I feel about them now versus how I felt about them when I first read them. And then some fantasy. Especially because fantasy has so much in it, so many details and so much information, and it's like so much to absorb and so much intrigue that it's like you almost have to read it more than once to get everything. I mean, it amazes me some of the people the information that they'll recall from like something like Lord of the Rings, the information that they'll remember, or like Game of Thrones. But that's partly but at the same time, I'm one of those readers who will read multiple books at the same time. And will take forever to read a bigger book. Like, it just took me, because I started reading The Shining in 2018, and I finally finished it today, which has nothing to do with, like, me being a super slow reader. It's more like me getting distracted by other books. And, those books that are 500 plus pages are a big commitment, in my opinion, so. And eventually I will probably reread some of my Stephen King. Like, Salem's Lot is another one that I wonder, although I guess it's kind of in the fantasy family because it's paranormal. It's vampires. So his version of vampires anyway, like Dracula in the Suburbs. So yeah, what was I gonna say? So yeah, so far it's fantasy and classics. But there are some books from other genres that I have thought about rereading. Okay, so question number 7. Is there a book that you found better when you reread it? And yes, the one I just showed you, Les Mis. I don't know if there's any book that I'm currently that I've already reread the whole book that I feel that way about, but yeah, as of right now, the current book I'm reading is Les Mis, and I definitely like it more now. Now, it could also have to do with the fact that I read an abridged edition of it the first time, which, come to think of it, I saw that edition just now at the Black Castle used bookstore that I went to, and I'll show you, when I finish this tag, I'll show you guys the books I bought from there. But, yeah, I saw the original edition that I had. But this is the only complete unabridged edition, so it has everything in it. And I definitely like it a lot more now, and there could be a lot of contributing factors. Like, it could be because it was the original edition that I had was abridged. It could be that I'm now 31, so I'm a little bit older, and more interested in the French Revolution and all that. And, I'm, in fact, more interested in history as it is. And also, it could just be that I've seen the stage show, twice now. And then we used to have the movie with Liam Neeson and Jeffrey Rush in it. And then I have the musical, the musical that came out a few years ago with Hugh Jackman, Amanda Seyfried, Anne Hathaway, Russell Crowe, which I just watched A Beautiful Mind yesterday. I love that movie. Which is funny because I am not a math person. I despise math. I despise the invention of math. I hate it. I want the concept to die. But we need math because we need to be able to count money out. Be able to calculate money and build houses and stuff like that. But anyway, so maybe it could be that I've seen so many versions of it, so I'm even more familiar with the story. So I think it might just be all those things combined, all those reasons combined that has given me a different perspective on this book, and it's more enjoyable now. And like I said, maybe that's what would happen with Dracula if I had bought it today and I decided to reread it. I mean, it would have been a smart book to buy now because it's, next month is Victober, and it's a Victorian literature, which, if it's still there, if that particular one is still there, because we might when my mom comes back, because she's gonna go visit my sister when she comes back, then maybe if I decide to go back then and the book is still there, then maybe I'll buy it. But anyway, yeah, okay, so next, question number 8 is one that got worse and one that I don't have anymore. I mean, I might have it in there because I have a corner in my room where I put all my donated books that I'm going to eventually donate. I might have it there. I might have already got it. I don't remember if I got rid of it already before this pandemic or not, but actually I think I did. I think. Well, I don't know, because it had been a while since I went there before this whole pandemic started, so it might be over there. But I'm not going to go looking to check, because, if it's not there, then I just wasted your time, your guys' time and mine, just to look for it so I can show you. But a book that got worse was Catcher in the Rye by J.D. Salinger, which actually, the woman who created this tag, Roz, and I don't know if the guy's her partner, the guy she did the video with, although it looks like from her videos that she does videos with a lot of other booktubers as well, a lot of other people as well, so I don't know if they're all booktubers or not, but I've at least seen 2 people, the one she did with this tag with, and then another guy that she did But anyway, we have the same answer for this question, which is Catcher in the Rye by J.D. Salinger. So what I read as a teenager in high school, at the time I didn't love it, but I did like it. But now rereading it years later as a 31-year-old adult, I can't help but thinking, you are so immature, you need to get over yourself with Holden Caulfield. I just wanted to shake him. I just got so frustrated with him and so annoyed, and I kept rolling my eyes as I was reading the book. And I was doing that also, doing the eye roll with his other novel, Franny and Zoo, which I had just read. Because I thought, that was a little bit more tolerable, but not only by a tiny bit. Because the rest of the book, I just wanted to punch, Zooey in the face. I couldn't stand him. He reminded me of Holden Caulfield. And then I liked the sister. Franny was more okay, but she was still kind of annoying and head up her ass. But I even agree with some of the things her brother, Zooey is her brother, what he told her. I kind of agree with him, but he's also a bit of a hypocrite. But we are not talking about Franny and Zooey. We were talking about Catcher in the Rye. So, yeah, I just could not stand him as a main character. I was very frustrated and impatient with him. I thought he was very immature. But at the same time, I think he is still relatable. There are a lot of teenagers that probably can relate a lot to him. So I just don't think I was the right audience for that book anymore. I think I do think there are still some people who still have a strong love for that book. But I did not. And the only thing I liked about that book was his relationship with his sister. I thought that was really sweet. And I thought that the fact he thought she was the only genuine person was kind of sweet too, And he had a lot of respect for his younger sister and wanted to see her do well. But he's gonna, I feel like Franny and Zooey are like the grown-up versions of Holden and Phoebe. I feel like I'm worried Phoebe's not like that necessarily, but I'm worried she could become like that, like Franny. But yeah, I did not connect with that book anymore. I didn't even like it that much back then. I just thought it was interesting and relatable, and I had fun with it the first time I read it. I thought it was interesting, but now it's like, yeah, you are, get over yourself, get your head out of your ass. That's my response to him. And like I said, I'm not a mom, but I am 31 years old, so I'm not a kid anymore. I'm a little bit, not by much, I still have a lot of immaturity in me, but I'm definitely more mature than Holden Caulfield, and I realize the whole world is, and of course I don't think I ever thought this, that the whole world does not revolve around me and my problems and my opinions on the world. And so, the whole world does not revolve around Holden Caulfield. It does not revolve around his opinions, and no one cares if he thinks everybody's a phony. No one cares. And, although someone pointed out something, I remember reading somewhere that someone said that maybe Holden Caulfield thinks of himself as a phony, and that's why he's so critical of others and phoniness. Because, it's like the whole idea of how people say that you get annoyed by people who remind you of yourself, that have the negative traits that you have as well, and that's why you get mad and you get annoyed with their negative traits, because they remind you too much of yourself. So maybe it's just J.D. Salinger thought of himself as a phony sometimes. But yeah, I'm just thinking no one cares. No one cares what you think. Okay, so the last question, question number 9 is, which one book have you reread the most times? And like I said, I've reread Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban quite a few times, particularly in my favorite chapters in the book. But I've also but the one that comes to mind is Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. I've read it 3 times now. I read it this year and a couple years ago, and then I read it when I was 16. And I just loved it. And it feels like not a lot of time has passed since I read it when I was 16, but that I think is because of all the versions of Jane Eyre that I watched. Now, I haven't watched the black and white one, and I didn't watch the whole 1990s, 96 or 94. The one with William Hurt. Oh my god, I remember his name! For some reason, I can never think of his first name, like, because I know there's a William Hurt and there's a John Hurt. John Hurt is the British actor who passed away, I think, a couple years ago. May he rest in peace. But then there's also William Hurt, who's an American actor, and he's blonde, and he was in the movie Michael with John Travolta, and I can't remember the actress's name. But he was in that one where John Travolta played the Archangel Michael, and he had come down to Earth, and he was in, I can't remember what else he's been in. But anyway, yeah, why did I bring that one up? Andie MacDowell, by the way, that's the actress I was thinking of. Why did I bring that up? I can't remember why I brought that movie up. Oh yeah, that's right, because William Hurt played in the either 96 or 90, I think it was 96 when that version came out. I was cool with the actress who played Jane Eyre, but I was a little iffy about him, and I felt like the movie was too bright. So I was like, I don't forget this. I don't need to watch all these interpretations of Jane Eyre. So, but I am keen to watch this. I think it's Syrian Hines who plays Rochester in the black and white version. I've seen the 2011, 1985 one, which I think is best as far as getting everything in the story, like everything from the original novel into the story. And then, of course, I have a soft spot for the 2011 version, because I know a lot of people do not like that version. I remember, like, Terry always points out how, like, there are things that it's not clear, that version is not clear on, because, of course, as a movie, it cannot get everything that's in the book, which is surprising, because, I mean, not surprising, but also, at the same time, like, the book isn't that long, but anyway, like, I know that she has, her argument is that it's not, one of the things that she talks about is how it's not clear on the whole thing with the cousins, not the Reeds, but the cousins that she lives with when she, after finding out about Rochester, and the whole thing with his crazy wife and his little secret wife, and she decides to leave him and runs into St. John and his sisters, and you find out that they're I don't know if they're her first cousins or distant cousins on her dad's side of the family, because her mom is the one that's related to the Reeds. She's the sister of Jane's uncle, and then she lives with St. John and his sisters, and I don't remember their last name, and it turns out they're her cousins on her dad's side of the family, so, like I said, I don't know if they're distant, I don't remember if they're distant cousins or they're first cousins. I think they might be first cousins, because it was like one of these things where the money, like, I don't know if the guy that was going to give Jane's uncle, I don't know if he was their father, or he was also their uncle. I want to say he might have been their father. And he was going to give them, and he had just died, and, the whole money thing was an issue, who was going to get the money, and it didn't turn into a big thing, because then that would be a whole other complicated plot point, and, I think Miss Bronte wanted to end it soon. That was not the main focus. But I think Jane got all the money, but then because St. John and his sisters were so good to her, and she cared about them, and she found that they were her family, she was like, I never had family, so I want to give it to you. So I feel like they don't, like Terry was saying, how they don't make it clear in the 2011 movie. But like I said, and I guess she makes a good point, that if you've never read the book, then you might not know, but I feel like most people who watch the movie would have read the book. Like, most people. Maybe not all. So I think, to me, that's, like, a little, not as bad as some things, as taking out some things, But yeah, but then I've also reread it 3 times as of this year, so, But yeah, that I think as of right now is the book that I've read the most. And like I said 3 times, I know for some people that might not be a lot. There are some people who reread books a lot, but I only reread books like maybe once or twice. So yep, that is the reread book tag, and I will send a link to Roz's channel and post it on here so you guys can see her original tag. And real quick before I go, I will show you when I got to these bookstore. Like I said, I almost bought Dracula, but I decided to limit myself. First I got a Stephen King book. The other one was the other one I thought about getting was Night Shift. And it's one of his collections of short stories, but I ended up putting that one back, and maybe I'll get that one. But, this one is the sequel to The Talisman, which I have not read yet, but I do have it. So I figure why don't I go ahead and borrow this one. Go ahead and buy this one so that I can just go ahead and read it. And unfortunately they did not have Dr. Sleep. I would have bought Dr. Sleep because they just finished The Shining, but they did not have it. So maybe when I go to the roast office, because now it's finally open 3 days a week, then start it open today, and then it's gonna be open Wednesday and Thursdays, but it's closed I think on Fridays and Mondays, and then on the weekends I don't think it's open, and it's only from 10 to 2 because it's the virus is still here, and the pandemic is still going around. So yeah, people are opening their stores and stuff, but they're also you have to wear a mask, and they will limit, and some of the stores will limit their hours. So, and I get it, So I'm thinking about, but I'll probably wait until like next week at least before I think maybe like if I'm off next Tuesday. Actually, no, I don't think I'm off next Tuesday. I'll have to double check on that. Usually I'm working on Thursday, so I'll just check and see if I'm off next Wednesday, and if not, it's not a big deal because I probably don't need to be going up there anyway. Maybe just wait a week, 2 weeks, and then go. But anyway, if it's there, I'll get that. Although it's a very slim chance Dr. Sleep will be there, but it might be. If not, I'm gonna put Dr. Sleep on my list. But anyway, no, some of these books I should probably still keep them on the other list, on my Amazon wish list, so Mom can see them. I'm gonna do that. I gotta put some of them on my Amazon wish list. But yeah, this is a sequel to The Talisman. That's one of his, more leaning towards fantasy and not supernatural horror, I think. And I do not know what this is about. Oh, I think it has to do with like parallel universes, because I'm like reading the first couple sentences, and the second sentence is the first couple sentences. Jack Sawyer is a retired Los Angeles homicide detective living in the small hamlet of Tamarack, Wisconsin. He has no recollection of the events 20 years ago that led him to the parallel universe called the Territories to save his mother from certain death. Okay, that's all I'm gonna read. So I guess when he's a kid, he goes to a parallel universe to save his mother, and then, or a teenager or something. That's why King does a lot of stories that are focused on teens and kids. But yeah, that's a sequel to that one. And so the other ones, well, first before I show you the classics, so I'm wearing, okay, first, today I'm wearing this. If you can't tell, it's my TARDIS dress. And the guy at the used bookstore noticed that, so he showed me this. This is a Doctor Who, based on a Doctor Who screenplay that never made it to the screen, and now it's in a book format. And it was one of these, which I remember after the fact that I'm normally not someone who's big on the whole a script, a script that gets turned into a book, because I feel like it's, you're basically just reading the script but with extra words. But this was not, I never saw the script, this was never put on screen, so maybe it won't be like that, or maybe I won't feel that. But this is a Doctor Who adventure by this, written by Douglas Adams. He's the same guy who wrote Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Unfortunately, I couldn't think of it at the time when I was at the store talking to the salesman. But now, I look at it and it says it based on the script written by the author of the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. So this is a former, it's not the Doctor, but it's one of his friends, a fellow Gallifreyan, and he has left. He is currently a professor at Cambridge and has retired. And I guess he collects things that he thinks are harmless, and he also has something that is not so harmless, but he gives it to one of his students. And of course, there is an evil. I don't know if he's an alien or an evil Time Lord who's trying. It's like, I'm guessing he's trying to get a hold of this thing. He has owned this immensely. Okay, so it's a book, and it's called The Worshipful and Ancient Lie. I think that's the title of the book. So I figured, what the heck, I'll go ahead and buy it. Especially because, I'm not a big comic book reader. I like the idea of comic books, but I'm normally, because comic books aren't as expensive as, a book like this, I don't buy them regularly. Although, she might have forgot, but Larissa did say she was going to give me a bunch of Marvel comics, but she might have forgotten, and I don't want to, I don't want to remind her because, or I don't want to push this on her because it's not I was excited, but at the same time, I don't want her to feel like she has to do it. She has to send me these comics. But, if she remembers and she does, that's awesome. Although now I'm thinking about it, I might do it. I might be tempted. I might change my mind and message her anyway. But yeah, I'm not a big comic book reader. So, if it's in a novel format, then maybe, I might be more interested. So, this sounds kind of interesting, Okay, so now that I've shared those, now let's share you guys the classics. Okay, so, first is, excuse me, I apologize. So in school, one of the short stories we read I remember reading was The Awakening. Either that or I saw it in the collection of stories, one of the big anthology collection. And, wait, what's that? There's something in here. Oh, free bookmark. Oh, and then it's in one of those plastic encasings, so. They have I think they have bookmarks in there. I thought about getting it, but I ended up not grabbing one or asking. But, I'm gonna go and keep that. Finders keepers. Always looking for new bookmarks. Although I prefer prettier bookmarks. The Awakening by, Kate Chopin. And for some reason, I always get the title of this mixed up, which is funny because that is one of the things that annoys me now when people get titles mixed up. Or more specifically, there was an instance where someone, when Jessica Townsend's the Morgan Crow series, although I think it's actually the whole series is called Nevermore, but I think it would make more sense to call it the Morgan Crow series. But anyway, when that first came out, and I guess I was reading it or I was showing it and mentioned the book and on Facebook to Terry, and another girl was saying, another woman that we know, I shouldn't say girl because she's not a girl, she's an older woman, she was saying, oh, that's the same book that Belle read in that Beauty and the Beast story, that back when the live action movie came out, there was, I don't remember what the actual book, like Once Upon a Book or something, where Belle gets sucked into a book that happens to be called Nevermore, and I heard that just irked me because I was like, no, just because it has the same name does not mean that it has anything to do with that. I know that you assume because you love that story, but no, it has nothing to do with that. Just, it's not even spelled the same way. So, yeah, so I'm a little bit of a hypocrite there because, you know, I got the Awakening movie, Awakening movie with Robin Williams. I think he was he was a doctor, and he had a female patient that was in a coma or something. The Awakenings, or like he was he was a doctor that all these patients were in comas, and he found a new cure to wake them up, and it was dealing with, and he was trying to figure out what, I think it was, and he was trying to help those people readjust to the world. I get that mixed up with this short story. But let's see. Is this where the woman leaves her husband, I think? I think the Awakening is when she leaves her husband or something, or she realizes she doesn't want to. Well, anyway. So, I saw this, and I decided, I was gonna grab it, because I kind of do want to read, and there are some people, Kate Howe, and Katie from Books and Things, who they've talked about, or at least Katie from Books and Things has talked about wanting to read this, or she has read it and she loves it. And I think my mom, maybe she might have read the book version of the movie, of that one movie that I was thinking about earlier. Because I don't know how this would have to do with, medical stuff. Because my mom's a nurse. Unless she read it for her religious class, because she got the chance to go back to school. Well, anyway, I decided to go ahead and get it, because I am trying to read more short stories. And, like I said, I read this in college, I think. The Awakening, anyway. The Awakenings. I think it's The Awakenings with an S. The one at that movie with Rob Williams as a doctor. But I decided to go ahead and get it. For $5.10, although I got it on even more of a discount. Okay, and the last classic I decided to get was not a story, but a collection of letters. Unfortunately, it's not Victorian, which that's one of the challenges in Victober, and the Victober read, is read a collection of letters. But this is not Victorian. These letters are not Victorian letters. Not only is it, I don't think it's in the Victorian era, but it's also in America, so it doesn't count as Victorian, because Victorian, I think, is a UK thing, like British and Irish and Scottish thing, and Wales. So I don't think it would count as. So not only is it in the wrong country, but it's not. I don't think it's a Victorian era because it's before the Victorian era. But I've always kind of been intrigued by the President John Adams. And I remember one year in middle school, I dressed up as Abigail Adams, and we were supposed to do like a presentation and like do a booth and stuff like that and pretend to be that person. And you kind of present your life as, talk to them as if you are that historical figure. And I know I did a bad job of that. I basically just read the index cards of notes, and I did dress up obviously because it was part of the assignment. But I think I did a bad job. But I was also middle school, so I was even more shy back then than I was, but I've always been intrigued by John Adams, and I remember I have, you guys, I mentioned it quite a few times, especially recently, that I have the John Adams biography by David McCullough that I haven't read, and then my dad has 1776, which is the creation of the Declaration of Independence. I have the movie version of the stage musical 1776. I have the soundtrack for the revival of 1776. I have always been interested in the Paul Giamatti miniseries which I think that is mostly based off of this. Let me go in. The biography by David McCullough. And then, like I said, I quote unquote played Abigail Adams. I've always just been intrigued by the Adams family, and not the Adams family, not the creepy ones, but the actual historical figures. And I keep wanting to read this, but it's just, first of all, it's, not the most exciting writing. This probably would be more exciting for me than reading, like, someone stating facts. And it's also hardback. And I feel like I'm wondering if a paperback might help a little bit. I mean, and history is one of those subjects that I am interested in. I am intrigued by it, but it's not something like I'm constantly wanting to know about, like, that I'm constantly wanting to look into. But it's something that I am interested in. So I bought this. I thought this would be kind of cool to, the letters that Abigail wrote to John Adams. And one day I would love to do something about that. Like, I would love to be able to be like a booktuber like, Jennifer Brooks or Jean from Jean's Bookish Thoughts, who picks a certain history that is passionate about a certain history, a period in history, whether it's American history, European history, or like, ancient history, or African history, or, Russian history. Olive is another one of those booktubers that there's certain historical subjects that that person is very passionate about. I mean, even my friend Terry from Florida, she loves Egyptian history, so that's like her thing. So I would love to have something that I have a lot of knowledge of, and that I'm really passionate about and I read a lot about. And I've always been intrigued about revolutions, and so I think this would be a good place to start, along with finishing this. Like I said, maybe I need to get a paperback copy of it. I don't know, and finally give that back. But I mean, from what I can tell, Brian's not missing the book. My brother-in-law, so I mean. So who knows? Maybe one day I'll finally read it and finish it. But I don't want to give it up just yet. I want to at least try to read a little bit more. Like, maybe I should jump into it right now while I'm thinking about it. That's my phone alerting me that I have a message. Yes, I know I have a message. So, anyway, that's what I got today. Like I said, I might go again soon, possibly when my mom gets back from visiting my sister. My sister has a work thing that she's going out of town for, so my mom's gonna go up there and visit her to help take care of the kids. So, that was my update for today. My rereaders tag, and then what I bought today. If you guys are interested in doing the tag part, then feel free to do it. It's a fun tag. If you reread books, if you don't reread, then you don't need to do it. You don't have to do it. But if you do reread, it's definitely something. It's a fun tag to look at your rereading and how you reread and stuff. I hope you all are still being safe and wearing your mask and using sanitizer and wash your hands constantly. I hope you're keeping safe, doing your part in helping our community with all of our problems. And I will, if you guys like this video, be sure to give a thumbs up, click subscribe if you haven't already, and click the bell notification below if you want to be notified when I post videos. And I will talk to you guys later. Alright, bye!